When I was here last fall, I felt an energy every time I was here. It got me thinking further on energy because it's tied to the river. And the river is also energy and it's also life, right? And a lot of our creation stories in the Indigenous world, in your mom's womb, you've already been introduced to water. They say water is life, women are powerful. They call Mother Earth Inam Makuchi, which is Mother Earth, again the mother, and again water. So a lot of energy, power and energy. Fast forward to today, EPCOR is energy and there's water. And if it's done right and inclusive of everybody, then the energy collectively from everybody with their stories and their continuity and their being able to participate in the project, then it should be a positive energy and it should be a healthy energy. And if it's a healthy energy, it's a win-win for everybody.
So the kīsikāw pīsim solar farm is based here at E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant. There are over 30,000 solar panels harness the UV rays from the sun and generate electricity, which in turn provides power to the water treatment plant. So EPCOR's desire and our goal to achieve net zero by 2050 has along that way a 50% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2025. This solar farm will help reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and achieve that target. So in the early phase of the project, before construction, we did 2 years of archaeological work on the site. And what was unique about that phase is through our engagement with Indigenous nations, we asked them and provide the opportunity for them to come alongside the archaeologists.
E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant and kīsikāw pīsim Solar Farm are nestled on a terrace in Edmonton's river valley. Just over a century ago, this land on which they were built was part of the Enoch First Nation Reserve.
There was a lot of land. We had about 4,400 acres of land that was taken from our people. The settlers wanted their land because it was good farmland. The name Enoch Cree Nation, named after our chief Enoch, tribute to him. But when we talk in our language who we are as people, because it's descriptive, we call ourselves Maskiksik, the land of the medicines. Many people will come to this area here because there's medicines in this area that you can find nowhere else. We've always had an affinity to the rivers, to the lakes, for transportation, for fishing, hunting, trapping. We wanted to make sure that we had access to the river. The river, of course, was a means that we would have a lot of moose, caribou, and what have you come up that river. Because it was a natural plain in the area, there wasn't a lot of growth of bush and things of that nature. And so because the banks weren't that high along the North Saskatchewan River, it was easy for them to make camp in that area.
What I like about EPCOR is that they're inclusive of all Indigenous groups. I like the fact that all Indigenous groups have a chance to come here and participate, and they're proactive in that sense. So I find that both respectful and a good gesture, like a good neighbor gesture with the Indigenous communities. So when I got here, it was a bit of a learning curve because I've never worked with archaeologists. I had some knowledge that they found remains here, but I did not know that this land base at one time belonged to the Enoch Cree Nation, or I did not know that there was campsites found here.
As a result of EPCOR's commitment to stewarding the past, present, and future of the land on which it operates, this terrace has become one of the most studied and most archaeologically rich sites in Alberta. Prehistoric campsites have been unearthed across the E.L. Smith Water Treatment Plant and solar farm sites. These sites offer a near-complete representation of Alberta's prehistoric archaeological record. As the North Saskatchewan River changed its course back and forth over thousands of years, its fluctuating riverbanks left a natural archive of terraces etched into the floodplain. These former riverbanks are now yielding some of the oldest excavated sites in Alberta. From youngest to oldest, each of the sites across this floodplain have their own distinct personality, and each of them open different windows of understanding on the lives of those who made their camps here. This 1,000-year-old site was characterized by a hearth and a pit oven together in close proximity.
Typically, our work is governed through regulation. So a proponent will commit to archaeological work under specific instructions from the provincial government. In this case, EPCOR decided to go above and beyond that regulatory framework and sponsor archaeological work on their own initiative, not simply because it was a requirement under regulation. And it's only because of that decision that we're able to work on these sites and we're able to talk about them, and there's an opportunity to interpret them and for people to know about.
We left a huge footprint in the whole territory. You go west of Edmonton, Jasper, that passageway through the mountains was a trade corridor with nations west of the mountains. The territory begins where Edmonton is, a little bit north of there. We have traditional Sundance sites. Campsites go across the Umbaktai, which is the northern big river, Apatsumktai, which is the North Saskatchewan River.
Trade is still happening today. I think that's very important for people to know that these things are still happening. It's not like we only did them in the past. This intertribal trading we used to do is still happening today. Different medicines, different roots, different plants are still being exchanged amongst the tribes.
It's hard to definitively say that's the Cree, that's the Nakota, that's the Dene, that belongs to the Blackfoot. You wouldn't really know. So that's why I like the inclusion that EPCOR has of opening it up to everybody to have their story, to have their say, to share. And that's the true story of this area and the river and Edmonton and EPCOR.
This is a place of past, present, and future, folded together where the North Saskatchewan River has always nourished us and will continue to nourish in an evolving story of water, life, and shared history.
Everything about our people is everything is tied to the land. We are people of the land. Everything has a spirit, everything is a power, everything has an energy. The universe, etc., creator, God, whatever you want to call it, however you believe, but it all boils down to an energy of some type, and that's what we're here for. And energy is life, and EPCOR provides that life, right? They're feeding the grid so people can live happy, turn their lights on, cook their food, watch their Netflix, have fun, and that's what it is, it's life.